Cover two.
Welcome everybody to the Cover 2 Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm here with my man Houman. How's it going today, Houman?
Hey, Will, I'm doing really well. Things are going great, and we wrapped up doing our updated rankings, and we're in for a little bit of fun today doing a mock draft, a collaborative mock draft. We're going to be drafting together as one unit in one spot, and we're going to be able to stop the draft, discuss, what we want to pick, discuss our rankings on players and what would be the best option. I think this will be kind of cool to have two minds working in one draft position, which is the 10th spot.
And with July 4th around the corner, we know that you guys are getting ready and set for your draft. A lot of your draft days are coming up in the next 6 to 8 weeks, so we want to try to get you prepared.
Yeah, and with this draft that we're going to be doing here, we're going to be doing one of the typical drafts here, 12-team, full PPR. We've taken out the kicker and the defense. We can kind of just focus on the skill position players here. And I think we're looking to get started here, right, Will? We got any news or anything we want to go over before we get started?
No, not yet. I mean, we're still wondering what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and see what that's going to go with.
Yeah, what are your thoughts right now? If you had to, rate it on a probability scale, do you think he's going to be playing with the Packers this year?
I know I was probably at 90% at the beginning of this offseason, even with that whole craziness that happened. It's getting less and less every day for some reason. I don't know why I feel that way, but I think he has them. He has the Packers by the gonads, let's say, and he's going to actually make sure that he gets what he wants. I don't know if he's going to be a Packer.
Wow, that's a big change for you. I know I was kind of on the more leaning towards the side where I do not think he'll either not play this season or he will be traded. And I think that's trending more and more likely at this point. If you were to have to pick one location where he does end up getting traded to last ditch effort, where do you think that would end up being?
I think that the person's going to go on is Denver. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
that's what I've been thinking too, Denver.
But let's talk about this 12 team PPR draft. As you said, we're going to draft at number 10. So what do you think we're going to get at 10? Just going into it.
Well, I think we're going to be looking at some definitely not any tier one running backs. I think those are all going to be gone. Um, especially, we're talking tier one. I've got McCaffrey and Cook. Tier two, I've got Kamara, Barkley. We may have a shot at some of those back end tier three guys of mine. I'm probably thinking Eckler, Mixon, Aaron Jones will be on the board, where we can try to parlay that into two running backs, or we can get a little bit crazy and maybe try that whole try the Travis Kelce technique there. We'll definitely have a shot at a back end running back. I guess we'll have to see what's on the board when we get there once we start this and see what we have left. What are you hoping for at that spot?
I'm hoping for. I've seen sometimes that Zeke falls to 10. I think that would be a great first running back for us.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get it started and see what's happening. So if you're watching this, you're going to see our draft going here. We use Sleeper, not a sponsor, but we're happy to accept sponsor offers if Sleeper's out there listening to us. And here we go. So we got the number one pick, Barkley. Wow. Taylor going two, Derrick Henry, Cook, Chubb.
Wow.
What is going on here? McCaffrey, Kamara, Adams, Kelce, and now we're on the clock. So Kelce is gone.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that CMC didn't go till the sixth pick.
I wish we went 6.
Yeah. Okay. So Jonathan Taylor going way higher than I expected. Cook dropping a couple spots, and then Devontae Adams going before Travis Kelce. And we do have a shot at Ezekiel Elliott, which was what you were hoping for. What are your thoughts on that? We're sitting here at the 10th spot. We've got some guys off the board. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Zeke is the very top of my tier 3. So he's my running back 5. I can't remember exactly where you had Zeke on your draft board.
I had him at 7
Okay.
going to it. But just looking at the people that are, that we have the opportunity to get, we're not going to reach at tight end
Not
now,
anymore.
of course. We're not going to go after a wide receiver because, running backs is a premium. We're going to wait. If we don't get a running back now, we're going to definitely lose at least four running backs going into it. So,
So here's what I'm thinking, Will. I'm thinking we can go running. We can get Zeke here on the turn. Maybe hope for like an Eckler, Akers, or Mixon, and then maybe we could take that shot at Waller in the third round if he gets to us.
I agree. Well, let's get him.
All right, so we're going with Zeke here, and let's see. So we got 4 picks ahead of us, and hopefully we can end up with one of those guys. I'd be really happy with any 3 of those, or any one of those 3. And here goes Zeke. There goes DK. Okay, Tyreek Hill. So we're gonna have a choice here. I wanted Eckler. I know. I heard the sign in your voice. I really wanted Eckler out of that group, and this brings us to that conversation you and I had when we were ranking our running backs, where I think I posed that question to you. If we had the choice between Eckler or Cam Akers, and you had Akers ranked higher, I think we both decided that we would rather have Eckler, which I think in this case, in a PPR, I would have felt more comfortable with Akers. We do have the shot at Mixon also, and then it's going to kind of fall. I think there's going to be a big run on running backs here if we don't take one. What are your thoughts?
So the only thing I want to just bring into the effect, obviously, is a top tier wide receiver. Okay, yes, we can go get Cam. We'll have 2 solid running backs. We're not going to get a top tier receiver now. It's done if we don't pick him now. So the thought process is going to be, where is our lower running back that we believe will fall, that we feel comfortable taking as our number 2? Do we feel that way? If we don't, then we got to take Cam here.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at, and obviously I think both of our options, if we were going to go receiver here, is obviously Stephon Diggs. The fact that he got out of the first round is kind of mind-blowing. The fact that we have a chance here to go Elliott and Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
My hope then would be that somehow Najee Harris makes it back to us, which we've got the long wait here now. There's going to be a lot of picks. There's going to be about 18 picks ahead of us. I don't think Najee Harris will make it back. I think we're going to be looking at maybe a non-starting, we're definitely going to be looking at running back 1 at that late third round pick there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my board, I'm thinking it's going to be either a Gibson or Mike Davis.
I think Mike Davis is the more likely outcome there. I think Gibson's going to be long gone in the second, probably late second round here. I think Edwards-Helaire is going to be gone. I think Harris will be gone. I think David Montgomery might even be gone. So that's where it leaves us with a quandary here where, we can get a great wide receiver 1 here. We can get the wide receiver number 1 from last year, but then we're going to have to piecemeal together running back in third and fourth round. Now, remember, during our rankings, what did we talk about? We talked about what? There being upper tiers of running backs and then a lot more depth at wide receiver. So what's your thinking here?
It's hard for me because I think the smart choice is to go with running back with Akers instead of like a Diggs or a Hopkins or even a Michael Thomas, which I agree is way too high right here.
So hey, would you be happy if at that turn in the third and fourth round we could end up with someone like 2 guys like Allen Robinson and Terry McLaurin?
No, I agree with you. I think that the talent, obviously, the wide receiver position is much. It's got a lot more depth to it. I just always go to the mantra, a set it and forget it guy, right? And having a set and forget it wide receiver 1 is huge. So that's the only thing I want to pause for concern there.
So I'm looking at my tiers here, and this is a good situation where we can talk about tier-based rankings and drafting. So I've got Stephon Diggs as a tier 1 wide receiver. Now, he is my wide receiver 4, which is the back end of my tier 1. Is Calvin Ridley still on the board?
Yes, he is.
He is. So this is really tough, man, because we've got tier 1 wide receivers, and then I'm looking at, as far as running backs with tiers here, we're into tier 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even if we get Akers here, that's the upper end of my tier 4. But looking ahead, I don't think from as far as my tiers go, we'll probably have to be drafting someone in tier 6 as our running back too.
Hmm.
Man, this is a really tough spot. I actually really want to go with either Diggs or Ridley.
Well, I trust you in this aspect. I mean, I told you what I was going to do with number 10 was Elliott. I thought he'd be there, so I feel confident if you go with one of the three, either Cam, Diggs, or Ridley, I think it would be okay.
Now let's take a look at our draft board here. So if we're looking at the head of the teams here, they mostly all have running backs. So we know Team 9, Team 8 are drafting behind us. They're gonna take running backs
Correct.
because they've got a tight end, they've got a wide receiver. We could see a run on wide receivers from Team 7 to Team 1, or running backs. I think we'll see a combo of running back and wide receivers gone.
Correct.
So the likelihood that about 9 running backs will be gone off the board is very likely, to where we could be looking at Chris Carson. We could be looking at David Montgomery, which would not be a bad thing. I'm just not sure if that's who I want as my running back too.
Well, I think that for just our concerns here, I feel like most of the time that if you were drafting Houman, that you probably go double running back here. I think I'd like to try and go for that top tier wide receiver and see what happens.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's exactly what I was going to say. We've got our tier 1. My tier 1 guys are here, and if I can get a tier 1 running back and a tier 1 wide receiver leaving this draft, I can build depth behind them, and I think that's what we're going to do here. And we are going to go receiver, and this is where you and I may have a little bit of a controversy here. Would we rather go Diggs or Ridley? Where did you have Diggs and Ridley ranked?
So for me, let me go back to my rankings. I had Diggs at 4, and I had Ridley at 6. So if you look at my tiers, I had Diggs, like you said, at the bottom. Actually, I have Diggs at my bottom, my tier 1, and I have Ridley at my middle of my tier 2.
Okay, and I've got Diggs at 4, bottom of tier 1. I've got Ridley at 3, which is mid tier 1. Now, who do you think has the higher upside?
For me, if I'm going to be choosing at my second pick, I probably say Diggs. But you asked the other question, which was who's the higher upside. It's Ridley. So it's interesting because it's going to be about offenses that I think I might have to look at. And I trust Bill's offense with Josh Allen this year more than I trust Matty Ice.
Now, if we're talking about winning in offenses, yes, the Buffalo Bills offense. But if we're talking about fantasy output, without Julio Jones, we know Calvin Ridley is an elite fantasy wide receiver. It's been proven that we've had a large sample size of that with Julio Jones having missed so many games over the last couple of years. We know Ridley fits right in there. Now, Diggs also has been very successful. He's coming off the best year a receiver's had this last year. So I'm going with the choice of wide receiver. The difference between you and I with Diggs, it's right on point. We both have him in the same spot. The difference between Ridley is a little bit different, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and go with Diggs then. Okay.
Okay. Ooh.
And here goes some receivers. Hopkins, and we have a QB Mahomes, Mixon, Akers. There goes Akers. Dobbins, AJ Brown, Michael Thomas, George Kittle, Najee Harris. He did come off the board really early, and now here's our run on receivers. And I do see somebody. There goes Edwards-Helaire. Okay, so let me catch everyone up to where we were. So after we took Diggs, we had a run on Hopkins. Then we had Mahomes, Mixon, Akers with a 2.7, Dobbins at the 2.8. Then we had A.J. Brown, Michael Thomas, George Kittle at 2.11, and then Najee Harris to round out the second round. Starting the third round, this is where Ridley went. So we had Ridley, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift. Then we had Allen Robinson and Josh Jacobs at the 3.9. And now we're up at the 3.10. We've got our running back 1. We've got our wide receiver 1. So if we're looking at running backs now, we do have a nice choice here. We're looking at Chris Carson or David Montgomery from what I see. Anyone else popping out to you on the board right now?
The only thing I'm thinking of is what we also could get wide receiver wise if we feel like that we're not going to worry about that. And the only thing I see is Terry McLaurin or Robert Woods, and I would not waste my pick here for that. I'd hope to get him on the return. So yeah, I agree with you taking a running back here and getting either Montgomery. I have a more upside on Montgomery than Carson, even though I think the Carson in the offense is going to be better this year, just because Montgomery doesn't have the backup that Carson has.
I think we know how Pete Carroll is over there. Now I've got Chris Carson at the 16 as running back 16 and Montgomery at running back 18. So not a huge difference there. Do we think Montgomery's going to have that workload? I believe so. I think the way he ended the season, I think you're spot on there. I think he is going to continue to have that workload where I would feel very comfortable with David Montgomery here.
I agree.
Okay, so the pick is in, and let's see if we can get our guy on the turn here. Then Carson went after, so I think they would have gone interchange there. Then we had Josh Allen, we had Chris Godwin, we had Mike Evans, and Will, we are in fantastic position here to do something in the 4th round because there's someone on the board that I think we can jump on right now. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Agreed. You got to get the number 1 player in their position, basically, that you don't can set and forget it.
Dude, the fact that we are getting a tier 1 running back, a tier 1 receiver, and a tier 1 tight end. Well, not necessarily tier 1. I've got Travis Kelce in his own
of course
stratosphere. But this is the next best tight end, in my opinion, and this is a no-brainer. We're on the same page here, right?
Of course.
I would have been happy with taking him in the 3rd round, but we needed that running back, and the fact that we're able to draft him here early 4th round sets us at a positional advantage going into this season. We've got the 3, we got a tier 1, or we got an upper elite running back, one of the best receivers, and we're going to have one of the best tight ends. And here goes the pick, and that is, in case you were wondering, Darren Waller. Okay, so then we got Julio Jones goes after our pick. Travis Etienne going a little bit higher than I would have expected. Then we've got Cooper. We've got Lamar Jackson. Hey, and here's your guy, Kyle Pitts, going at 4.8. A little bit higher. Definitely Waller would have been long gone. I think he probably would have been picked after us if we didn't take him. Then we had Kyler Murray, Terry McLaurin, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen to round out the 4th round. Then starting our 3rd round, Team 1 took Mark Andrews. Then we had Tyler Lockett, Robert Woods, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, James Robinson here going at the 5.6, which I'm a little bit surprised about. Then we had Russell Wilson, Melvin Gordon, a little bit too high in my opinion. Then we had Dak Prescott. So we are looking good here, Will. We've got pretty good choices I'm assuming we're going to be targeting receiver or running back. Let's take a look at what we have on the running back boards. Something that's popping out to me right now, as far as running backs are concerned, is taking a look at a guy like Myles Gaskin. Dolphins didn't really do anything to address the running back needs. I think they were really happy with Gaskin. I think we can probably expect some of the similar fantasy output as long as he stays healthy. Do you see a receiver that we could probably take over him?
Not in this round, no. I'm in agreement with you there because I think Gaskin, with his ability to give you that PPR, he's going to get some catches at the backfield, and that offense has a lot of weapons that they'll be focused on. But he's the only running back, as you said. So I like to see him here. I definitely would be taking him. As far as wide receivers go, the one that I'm looking at that I'd like to get if we can is either a CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb, that's exactly what I was hoping for too.
Or even, I know that he's a new team and it's the Giants, but Galloway, I like his game, and he's the number 1 for the Giants.
Yeah, and I don't see, is Deontay Johnson still on the board available too?
Yes, and I've seen Deontay Johnson be going late in these drafts.
Okay, so I've got him rated really high. I've got him rated higher than CeeDee Lamb. But let's go ahead and make the running back pick here, and then we'll figure it out once we see those next 4 picks. So we've got a consensus here, right?
Yes, Gaskin all the way.
Gaskin, all right. So then we had Kareem Hunt.
Oh,
there goes CeeDee Lamb, so we don't even have to worry about that. CeeDee Lamb wrapped up the 5th round. Then we've got Kenny Golladay at the 1st pick of the 6th round, which I would have been really happy with if Golladay came down to us. Then Fournette went. And now we're on the board again. I think we can kind of focus our attention on wide receiver here for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at our rankings here.
I have one that I love at this spot because of his ability, and it is a little bit of a risk just because he is a rookie. but that Philadelphia offense needs some firepower, and I like Devontae Smith here.
Yeah. Let's see. Where do we have Deontay Johnson on here? I love Devonta Smith. I just, I think maybe we can. Do you think we can get Deontay Johnson in the next round?
I think so. I actually do. I think the way that I think that the Steelers, for some reason, because of all the receivers that they have, it's kind of been hit and miss as far as who's the number one's going to be, and that's why you've seen none of them drafted so far.
Okay. How are we looking? QBs, we're looking okay, right?
Yeah, the only thing that I would look at, and I wouldn't draft him here, is Tom Brady is probably my highest quarterback
Yeah,
that's on
yeah,
the
that's what I'm
board.
saying. Brady's still on the board. We got my guy Jalen Hurts that gives you that nice floor that maybe we could pluck in the eighth or ninth round if possible. I just want to make sure we didn't have anything really popping out at us here in the sixth round. So
Well, wait, hold on one second. I don't see Herbert off the board.
no, but I wouldn't. No, I would. I don't know if I would, especially with us sitting with only one wide receiver.
I agree with you there. I'm just saying offhand, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, I think wide receivers definitely are our decision here.
Okay, so yeah, let's do Devonta Smith then. He our highest consensus available right now?
For me, Devonte Smith is in my tier four, end of my tier four.
And Cooper Cup is gone, or is he? Yeah, he is gone. He was
He's
gone.
gone. Yeah, I mean, for me, the top person I have right now on my rankings is Devonte Smith, and behind him is Deontay Johnson and T Higgins.
Okay, we're gonna go with Devonta Smith here, and I'm gonna hope Deontay Johnson makes it back to us because with Ben Roethlisberger in there, I know Deontay Johnson's gonna be a volume hog this year. But like you said, Devonta Smith has that upside of being the guy in Philly, the connection with Jalen Hurts. So let's go with it. Your guy, Devonta Smith. So there's our pick, Devonta Smith. Right after Smith, there goes Juju Smith. And then we had TJ Hawkinson, Brandon Ayuk, Javonte Williams, which I was hoping was going to drop down to us so we could have plucked him later. Then there goes Justin Herbert, Odell Beckham, DJ Chark at the 6'10, James Conner at the 6'11, Chase Edmonds at the 6'12 to round out the sixth round. Then to start the seventh round, we got a little bit of a run of quarterbacks here with Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. Then we had Claypool, Waddle, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, which I was kind of hoping would drop to us. Then we had David Johnson. My heart skipped a beat there when I saw that came up because I thought that was Deontay Johnson. Then we had Ronald Jones, Kenyon Drake, and now we're up at the 7-10, and our guy is going to be there. Do we see anything else popping out?
The only thing for me is Mike Davis, just because he's a number one for that team.
Yeah, I think we could probably take him here and then get Deontay Johnson on the turn.
I think so too.
I think that's probably the safest thing. If we're looking at the board here, I've got Mike Davis. I've got him as a tier 6 running back 22, right under Myles Gaskin. So if we can end up with those running backs, I think that's a really good look for us. And wide receiver wise, I see plenty of depth here to where we would still end up with someone we would want. I think we will get our guy, though, if we make this pick here.
And if you look at the teams that are coming after us, we know that Team 11's taking a wide receiver, at least they hope. And we hope that Team 12 takes a running back because they only have one. So
yeah, how many quarterback options? We got one. We've got one team, two teams that need a quarterback too. So we may even be able to end up having a pretty good choice in the 9th round at quarterback.
mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go with a starting running back here in Mike Davis. Okay, once we do that, there goes Tom Brady. Then we had Noah Fant to wrap up the 7th round. Starting off the 8th round, we had Zach Moss, then Raheem Mostert. And now we are back to our pick here in the 8th round, 8.3. And we do have choices of wide receivers here of who's available. I definitely, like I've been saying for a couple rounds here, I've got Deontay Johnson rated very highly. And I think this would be a steal for us to get him here in the 8th round.
Very true. And, we were thinking about 6th round, and now we're going to get him the 8th. It's amazing.
If I'm taking a look here, we'll kind of go through this once it does end up happening. Finishing up the 8th round here, and I'll go through this. Let's talk about this. So we had, after our pick, we had Jerry Jeudy. We had Marquise Brown. Dang it, I can't hold it in because I'm a little bit upset. Then we had Rob Gronkowski, Deebo Samuel at the 8.7, Will Fuller, Mike Gesicki, Joe Burrow, Brandon Cooks, Laviska Shenault, to round out the 8th round. Going into the 9th round, we had Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, Dallas Goedert, Damian Harris, which I think would have been great value in this round, and then Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts went to good old Team 5, getting 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah,
So,
well, I was surprised because when Burrow went, it showed that every single team had a quarterback. So I thought, oh, we're good, And now 2 teams have picked 2 quarterbacks, which of course that's so much fun. So we are. I feel like personally that we should just let it go and just keep on drafting what we want, running back, wide receiver, and we get what we get.
yeah, because I'm at the point now where I would be okay with taking maybe Tannehill in the 10th round. We do have a few rounds here, though, but there is still great value on the board at different positions. So I'm all for let's acquire that talent. And one of the things I'm looking at that's staring us right in the face is a chance to get a running back that can end up becoming a starter within the first few weeks of the season, and that's Michael Carter. Or we can go another route. We've got some receivers, which I think are still going to be there in that 10th round. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm in full agreement. I know that would give us our 5th running back, and it would give us the time to just concentrate on our receiver the rest of the draft.
Yeah, and I'm eyeballing, just looking ahead. Antonio Brown is still on the board. And I know the Bucs wide receiver core is really diluted because there's so much talent there. But when Antonio Brown was active and healthy, he was the fantasy value in that offense. So if he's able to drop to us here in these next couple picks in the 10th round, I think that might be a steal. So is our consensus going with Michael Carter here?
Yeah, I like the lottery pick here.
Yeah, but camp reports have been great on Michael Carter. They're even saying that he is, popping out in the camps right now, and he could end up maybe taking the workload by the 3rd week.
Oh yeah, and Tevin Coleman we know has been very injury prone the last couple of years.
P. Ryan is still there, but they invested that high draft stock, that draft equity into Michael Carter. So I think, and we had talked about this pre-draft too, that Michael Carter was one of those guys that really stood out to us. So let's go ahead and do that and see what happens here. It gives us a little bit of depth at running back. We had Robert Tonyan go, Curtis Samuel wrap out the 9th round. Then we had Tyler Higbee starting off the 10th round, Michael Pittman going at 10.2, which would have been a nice pickup also. And then now we're looking at our wide receivers. Does anybody pop out to you besides Antonio Brown that would give us as much value as he would?
The only thing I'm thinking about is Pittman's teammate in Ty. I don't see him off the board, and Ty is just a veteran receiver that had a poor year last year. The quarterback he had was not looking for him. He was looking down the field. He was looking short, and they really didn't get a chemistry. So I think that he is going to have a bounce-back season. But going through the progressions of it, I think that I would rather go with Antonio Brown in that offense.
Yeah, that's what my argument was going to be, is that the quarterback that they got in Indianapolis is Carson Wentz. We don't know how his head is screwed on. We don't know who his receiver is going to be. We know that from what we've seen with Carson Wentz is he does target a specific receiver and goes to them or the tight end. And if it's not Ty, that's going to be a wasted pick for us. We've seen Brown with Brady, 2 of the greatest at what they do. I think he's a safe depth pick here and could end up giving us pretty good return here. So Antonio Brown is going to be that pick, and now we're going to have a run here, and there goes Tannehill. I was kind of hoping he would drop to that 11th round. A.J. Dillon, Hunter Henry, Michael Gallup, Nyheim Hines, Rashad Bateman, Trey Sermon, who would have been nice depth also, Deshaun Watson, someone's taking that late gamble on him, Devontae Parker, starting off the 11th round, Justin Fields, then Todd Gurley, someone taking a flyer on him, Zach Ertz, Matt Ryan. Wow, all of our quarterback choices here really just disappeared in front of us, right?
You sure you didn't do a 2-quarterback league?
Yeah, man. Then we had Kenny Gainwell, Devin Singletary, Corey Davis. There goes your guy, T.Y. Hilton. And now we are back on the clock here at the end, near the end of the 11th round with the 10th pick. I'm looking at running backs. We've got Tony Pollard on there. This would be a nice area to take that handcuff to our Zeke, especially with some of the issues Zeke has had recently with a little bit of injuries here and there. We could maybe steer with the Jamal Williams direction, thinking that backfield may not be set in stone with DeAndre Swift. I would say maybe Tony Pollard in that case. If we're looking at the tight end board, Evan Ingram's sitting there, which is pretty surprising. So is Jonnu Smith. And I think we'll probably see a run on tight ends here. I don't know if we need another tight end, but we could monopolize that and have a nice flex position with Evan Ingram. I don't know if I would start Evan Ingram over Antonio Brown in flex at this point. So I don't know if I would make that choice. If we're looking at quarterbacks, oh, man. This is a mess, man. We don't have a whole lot to choose from here. And I am quite terrified of the fact of going into the season with possibly Daniel Jones or Carson Wentz. So I'm hoping we have a shot at Cousins, Mayfield, or even Fitz, maybe. What are you thinking?
So I think that we need to take our quarterback here, only because I think that if we do get back around and Pollard is still there, that we take that piece, because Pollard, like you said, is that blanket, the insurance, where I feel like we need an actual starter.
Yeah, I honestly don't think. I think we will have a pretty decent choice. Like I said, there's a lot of tight ends on the board. I think we'll see in this 12th round here, tight ends and receivers go. I think we'll be able to have a choice at quarterback. To me, if we're weighing between quarterback and running back, there's only one running back that I'd want right now, and that's to have the handcuff of Tony Pollard, because he does present some standalone fantasy value. But for us specifically, having invested our first pick in Zeke, we almost have to have Tony Pollard. And the fact that he's here at the 11th round, and the fact that there isn't a quarterback that's really standing out, that's my vote. What are you thinking on that?
So the only thing I'm thinking about is, for somehow, because the last almost every single team has taken two quarterbacks in this draft, that I feel like the next two picks, one of them, maybe both of them, are going to take a quarterback.
Yeah, well, Team 11 only has 3 wide receivers on their roster.
Yeah.
So they are definitely in for a wide receiver in these next 2 picks.
Well, let's talk quarterback just a second. I know you mentioned the two people you mentioned. We also have, we have Carson Wentz. I know that you don't like him with his head and everything else. But we do have a team that has a guy that is going to throw the ball around, and he's got top 2 receivers. I didn't see him go off the board. Maybe you did. But, Kirk Cousins is still there.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Cousins or Mayfield as one of the 2 options. I'd be happy with, not happy, not going to be, I think we're going to end up having to stream quarterbacks at this point with this team. But the talent that we have everywhere else overrides that for me. I like it. I think he'll make it back to us. I don't think he'll go in these next 4 picks. And I think the value of having our handcuff with standalone values, I think a little bit more important at this point.
Okay, let's go with it then.
So we're going to go with Tony Pollard. There goes Cousins. Gosh dang it. Well, the gamble didn't pay off. However, Pollard would have been taken. I feel that Pollard would have been taken, and we'd have been stuck with Kirk Cousins and no handcuff. And now we've got a quarterback, and this is all on you, man. I'm letting you have this pick totally on your own.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. So, I think that if we're going to go somewhere, we got to go, obviously, with a guy that we know is playing week 1. I don't like Daniel Jones. I do think that he's going to have a better season having Barkley back and be able to dump it off. I really am a fan. I am a fan of Baker in the offense, but they run the ball too much. So then, to me, it comes down to either getting Wentz, Baker, or Derek Carr. And I don't know why, but that would help us with our Darren Waller, and we could match that up.
I don't know about Derek Carr, man. With that offensive line, I think we're going to be looking at a lot of sacks. I mean, he was under trouble last year, and they got rid of half their offensive line this offseason. I think that's just a negative sack total waiting to happen. You don't feel anything about Daniel Jones?
Well, Roethlisberger's there, too.
Oh, we do have Roethlisberger, huh? I didn't even think about that, man.
Well, I'm just thinking about, if we have this opportunity now, let's look to see who we can team up with.
Okay.
And if we have that dual combo, I mean, that's going to help us later on.
Yeah, and if we're gonna do that, then we know Roethlisberger isn't gonna get benched. He's gonna come out only if he gets injured.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we know the volume will probably be there. This is his last hurrah. He may either that or he could end up being completely washed. So I'm good with Roethlisberger or Carr, and I'm going to let you make that choice.
Well, I think it makes the most sense to go with Roethlisberger here.
Equanimous St. Brown goes after, then goes Mayfield, then Mike Williams. Then we do have our tight ends with Jared Cook, Jonnu Smith, Austin Hooper, Gus Edwards, Daryl Mooney, Darnell Mooney, and then Elijah Moore, who I think is going to have a pretty good rookie season this year.
I think those last two picks are really great.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney was someone I wouldn't have minded getting if we weren't in such a great position to get what we have. So if we're taking a look at our roster here. Let's run it down from the top here. We took Zeke at 1, Diggs at 2, Montgomery at 3. A steal of getting Waller in the 4th round. Then we had Myles Gaskin in the 5th, Devonta Smith in the 6th, Mike Davis in the 7th, Deontay Johnson in the 8th, which I think was also a steal, Michael Carter in the 9th, Antonio Brown in the 10th, Tony Pollard in the 11th to handcuff Zeke, and then our quarterback, which is, I think, the glaring hole in our team is at quarterback. Trying to think if there was anything we could have maybe done differently. We could have probably done that Cousins move and then maybe taken Jamal Williams in the 12th round. If we go up and look in the 6th round, I wouldn't have said that we could have taken one of the guys that was taken right after in that spot. I think that 6th round was way too early to contemplate taking Brady or Aaron Rodgers, especially with the Rodgers, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the tiers and what we had, I mean, we did only had one wide receiver at this point. We needed a wide receiver at 6.
Yeah, what we probably should have done was at the 8th spot, where we were enamored of the fact that Deontay Johnson dropped, that we could have taken Hurts there, which is where his ADP is right now in the 8th round. So we would have gotten the value for him there. And then we probably could have maybe gotten Johnson in the 9th round, or interchange it with Antonio Brown. But you know what? We're going to hope that Roethlisberger just has a great season. And I think everything else on our team is just absolutely – I think this was an ideal draft here. I would take this draft. If you could go ahead and give me this draft going into my fantasy seasons, I would take this 100%.
And I totally agree. I think that we set ourselves up running back wise, especially to dominate. We got a top tier wide receiver. We got I obviously Kelsey is out of mind, but I agree with you that Waller for me is my number 2, just because that offense doesn't have any other receivers that are comparable to him. Obviously Ruggs is there and a couple others, but as you can see, no one's taking Ruggs in this draft.
No, and then also, I mean, remember, Aguilar left. Aguilar isn't he's not in Las Vegas anymore. So a lot of those, he's in New England. A lot of those targets, Carr's going to go back to his safety blanket, which is Darren Waller. So we could see Darren Waller's target volume even increase this year. So, these ADPs will change as the summer goes on. I don't expect that teams will be able to get Waller early 4th. It's a possibility. I kind of project him mid-3rd, late 3rd, or even this early 4th. So picking from this 10th spot to me is pretty ideal in this scenario if this were to pan out.
Now, I just want to bring your attention to one person, and that's Team 9, which is risk reward, okay? They only got 2 running backs, but their wide receivers are crazy dynamic. And you can't sleep on the last pick, with St. Brown being the only wide receiver basically in Detroit that's viable to pick.
Yeah, and that's why I have TJ Hawkinson ranked pretty high this year, because they don't have a whole lot there. We saw he got drafted at the 5th pick of the 6th round, which, I wouldn't have been upset if we did pass on Waller, right? Which I would not have passed on Waller. But if we were sitting at a pick where we didn't have the chance of getting Waller in the 3rd round, I would have been really happy taking Hawkinson in the 6th round and getting a couple other positions filled.
Well, looking at this though, Houman, I know you are a person that goes running back heavy every single time. So taking this wide receiver at this point, because we kind of debated it. Do you feel more confident in your draft going forward that you think that you feel comfortable about taking that wide receiver and it's going to pan out?
If I'm on the turn like what we were here, and I was able to get a tier 1, or not tier 1, but an upper tier running back like we did with Zeke, the fact that we were able to get Zeke with our 1st round pick, I think made a big difference for me. If we were sitting there looking at maybe like a Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones as that, or Austin Eckler as that 1st pick at running back, I maybe would not have felt as good. But the fact that it was Zeke, I think that was very situational for us. The fact that it was Zeke really helped out in that, in coaxing me and making me feel more comfortable taking that receiver early. And the fact that it was Diggs, that we had that choice at taking Diggs that early. And we had talked about this when we did our wide receiver rankings. The fact that Metcalf his ADP is just skyrocketing for some reason. It helped us in this regard because it helped drop Diggs to our 2nd round 3rd pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. The DK Metcalf has been going very high in a lot of mock drafts the last couple of weeks I've been seeing, and that's why I saw Zeke a couple times fall, sometimes even to the end of the 1st round, because wide receivers getting picked, and of course Kelsey's always getting picked in the 1st round.
Yeah, and we might have been in a position to have taken him at that 10th pick. That's kind of what I was hoping by selecting the 10th pick, that we would be presented with that scenario, but he got drafted right before us. And in my opinion, I think it worked out even better here. And maybe if I am picking in that 9, 10, 11 spot, and I had the chance at Kelsey, maybe I would pass and let someone else take him so I could try to target Waller in that 3rd or 4th round.
Very true, very true. Well, and just a little bit of a longer episode, but we really wanted to break it down together and go through each pick. I really enjoyed matching up with you this time.
Yeah, that was fun. Really, putting our thought process together and debating and weighing the pros and cons and the risk reward of each of our picks there. And hopefully, it helped out some of our listeners as far as some of their decision making as they're leading into their potential draft seasons coming up soon.
And we, like Houman said, we appreciate our listeners so much. Thank you so much for helping us out. Continue to listen to us on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, watch us on YouTube. And like always,
Cover 2. Cover 2.